All right, so you're diving into the world of crypto, huh? Specifically Binance P2P. It's kind of like the Wild West out there, right? Peer-to-peer trading, direct connections. You've heard about USDT, I'm sure. Stablecoin, pegged to the dollar. Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, there's a lot of appeal to that direct control,
Yeah.
cutting out the middleman. And with USDT, yeah, you get that stability that a lot of folks are looking for in the crypto world. Less volatility. Plus, Binance has that escrow service, a safety net, right?
Sure.
Holding the crypto until both sides of the deal say, yep, we're good.
Escrow. Okay, that sounds like a good thing, right? But I gotta be honest, it also makes you wonder, what are the ways people try to get around that? What are the scams?
You're right to be thinking about that. Because even with those security measures in place, you've got determined folks out there always looking for an angle. And honestly, some of these scams are pretty clever.
So that's exactly what we're doing today. We're taking a deep dive into the most common scams you need to watch out for when you're trading USDT on Binance P2P.
Right. We're talking about the scams that target those peer-to-peer transactions. Because when you're dealing directly with another person, even if it's all online, there's a certain level of trust involved. And that's what these scammers try to exploit.
Okay, so let's break it down. Let's talk categories. I think the most obvious one, the one that jumps out at me, is messing with the payments themselves. Like, how do people try to scam others through the actual payment process?
Well, one that you really have to watch out for is the payment reversal scam. You know, a buyer sends you the funds. It might even look legit at first glance. You think everything's fine, you release your USDT, and then boom, they go to their bank, their payment provider, and reverse the transaction.
Oof. So they just take the crypto and run.
Basically, that's what they're trying to do. And often, they're using compromised accounts or stolen credit cards, making it even harder to track them down.
Okay, so that's terrifying. So if you're a seller, what's the absolute must-do to avoid that?
Verification. Independent verification. Don't just take a screenshot or a Binance notification at face value. You got to go directly to your bank or payment platform. Log in yourself. Make sure those funds are not only there, but that they're actually cleared and available.
I see, because they're banking on you just glancing at something quickly and assuming it's good.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing a lot of trades, right? You might get complacent.
Right. That's all it takes, a moment of inattention or rushing through things. Then there's the fake payment confirmation scam. Kind of similar, but in this one, there's never actually a real payment to begin with.
Oh, wow. So it's all smoke and mirrors.
Pretty much. The buyer will cook up a very believable fake payment receipt. Could be a doctored email or a screenshot they've messed with. And again, if you're not super careful, you might think, okay, payment confirmed, and release that USDT, only to find out later that you've been had.
So once again, always verify directly with the source. Okay. Now this one sounds kind of weird to me. The overpayment scam. Why would someone send you too much money?
That's exactly what they want you to think. It plays on that natural assumption that, hey, more money is a good problem to have. But what they do is intentionally overpay. Once you've released the USDT, they come back and say, oh, my bad, I made a mistake. Can I get a refund for the extra?
So the initial payment might actually be real, but then they're trying to game the system and get more crypto back than they put in.
Exactly. They're counting on you being maybe a little less careful when you see a bigger number.
Yeah, I can see how that would happen. Okay, so the key takeaway there is stick to the agreed upon price,
Right.
no matter what.
Exactly. Only release the amount of USDT that corresponds to the confirmed payment. Don't go sending extra refunds or anything like that. Now, moving on. Let's talk about scams that are, well, a little more personal. They involve deception and really playing on trust, like straight-up fake identities.
Yeah, that feels different. You know, when you're on these P2P platforms, you're dealing with, well, people. It's easy to forget that sometimes. So how did these fake identity scams actually play out on Binance?
Think of it like this. They're building a persona, a very convincing one. They might steal photos, create fake social media profiles, and link them all to their Binance account. It's all about crafting an image that makes you let down your guard.
So the goal is to basically get you to skip those security steps, make you feel like you don't need to be so careful.
Exactly. They want you to release that crypto faster than you normally would. Maybe even convince you to trade completely outside of Binance P2P, where there's no escrow protection whatsoever.
That's a hard no. So what can you do to protect yourself, you know, when you can't even be sure who you're talking to?
First of all, Binance has its own verification system. Look for those badges. See who's actually been verified by the platform. And don't be shy. Go through their transaction history. What are their feedback scores like?
Right, it's like checking someone's references, right?
Exactly. A long history of positive feedback from a variety of users is a good sign. But if you see a brand new account or a bunch of negative reviews, That's a red flag. Don't ignore those warning signs.
Okay, good advice. Now, phishing scams. This is something you hear about all over the internet. But how does it work specifically in the context of Binance P2P?
Same goal. They want to get your login information, username, password, the keys to the kingdom. They'll create fake websites,
Yep.
like mirror images of the real Binance platform, send you emails, messages with links to these bogus sites, and try to get you to log in.
Ugh, so creepy. Okay, what's the golden rule to avoid falling for that?
Look at the URL. Seriously, always check the website address. Make absolutely sure you are on the official Binance domain. Don't click on links in emails or messages, especially if they ask you to log in. Just type the Binance URL yourself.
Makes sense. And I bet that same caution applies to social media too, right? Like those social media scams where they try to lure you with amazing deals.
Yeah, that's another big one. They create fake profiles, offering crazy good prices on USDT. And the whole point is to get you to trade off platform. Outside the Binance ecosystem, they'll promise you faster transactions, better rates.
But then you have zero protection, right?
You got it. No escrow, no recourse. If something sounds too good to be true on social media, it probably is. Just stick to the official Binance P2P platform.
Right. Stay within the walls. Okay, let's talk about the escrow system itself. I mean, it's designed to protect people, but you know there have to be scams that specifically try to manipulate or bypass that.
You're absolutely right. And that's why it's so important to understand how these scams work. So one that we see is the escrow manipulation scam. Here, the scammer tries to pressure you into releasing your crypto before you've actually confirmed the payment. They might come up with all sorts of reasons. Oh, there's a technical issue. I need it urgently, blah, blah, blah.
It's like creating this artificial urgency.
Right. Trying to make you panic or doubt the system. But the bottom line is never, ever release your crypto until you have personally verified that you've received the correct payment in your account.
Right. No shortcuts. That escrow is there for a reason.
Exactly. And then there are the refund scams. These are a little different from the payment manipulation scams we talked about earlier.
How so? What makes them different?
Well, with a refund scam, the scammer usually pretends that there was some kind of error after the transaction has already happened. Maybe they say they accidentally sent the wrong amount or that something went wrong on their end.
So they act like they need a refund, but they're not being truthful about it.
Exactly. Their initial payment might have been fake, or they're trying to get back more money than they originally sent. They're hoping you won't double-check your records or remember the exact details.
Ah, so they're hoping you'll just click that refund button without thinking too hard.
Right, so always be meticulous about your record keeping. Only process a refund if you can verify that there was a genuine error. And always, always refer back to your transaction history. Don't just take their word for it.
Okay.
And then you've got the straight-up escrow scam.
Okay. How is that different from manipulating the escrow process? Isn't it the same thing?
No, it's a little different. With this one, they try to convince you that a transaction is protected by escrow when it's actually not. They might show you fake confirmations, or they might even try to direct you to a completely bogus escrow service that they control.
So it's like a fake safety net.
Exactly. They're trying to create a false sense of security. So always, always stick to the official Binance P2P platform and only trust their built-in escrow system. If you're talking about any other kind of escrow, be very, very suspicious.
Got it. Stay on the platform. Use the platform's tools. Okay, so the next category that we're going to dig into is kind of about the nuts and bolts of the payment itself. You know, how the payment is actually made and the proof that someone provides.
Right. We're talking about the nitty-gritty, and this is where you got to pay close attention to the payment methods and any documentation involved. For example, there are scam payment methods. These are ways of paying that are either really hard to trace or almost impossible to reverse.
I'm thinking like prepaid debit cards, maybe some weird online money transfer service where you don't need much ID.
Exactly. These are the things scammers love because it makes it incredibly difficult, if not impossible, for you to get your money back if they disappear. And they frequently do.
So stick with those well-known payment platforms, the ones with good security and accountability. Makes sense. What about fake transaction screenshots? I feel like we touched on that a little before, but I'm guessing it's a big enough problem to warrant its own category.
Oh, absolutely. Scammers are getting better and better at faking payment confirmations. It can be really hard to tell the difference, even if you're looking closely.
Yeah, I've seen some of those. They can look super legit. So I guess the key takeaway here is don't just rely on what you see.
Right. Never rely just on a screenshot. Always, always go back to the source. Check your bank account, check your payment platform, and make sure those funds are actually there and that they've cleared.
Okay, got it. Don't get fooled by a pretty picture. Now this next one, fake buyer refund scam. That sounds a little convoluted.
It's a bit more complex, yeah. Here's how it works. The scammer pretends to be a legitimate buyer who's already gotten a refund from you for a previous transaction.
Okay, so they're acting like they're a repeat customer.
Yeah, kind of. They come to you with this whole story about how the refund was messed up or they never received it, and they have all these fake documents to back it up.
Wow, so they're really playing the long game,
Yeah.
trying to build that trust. Okay, so what's the takeaway here? Be super careful about refund requests, especially if they're about past transactions.
Right. Always, always. Double check your records, your transaction history, and never just take their word for it, even if they seem convincing. Okay, are you ready for some even more complex scams?
Hit me with them.
These are scams that involve multiple orders, or they look like honest mistakes, but they're actually carefully planned. So one of these is the simultaneous transaction scam. This one can be tricky if you're juggling a lot of trades at once.
Okay, tell me more about this one. I can see how that would be confusing.
So what they do is they'll place multiple buy orders with you, all at the same time, but for slightly different prices. And then, once you've fulfilled one of the orders, they cancel the others. And then they come back and claim that they overpaid on the one that went through or that they didn't get all their money back from the canceled orders.
So they're trying to create confusion and basically sneak in an extra payment.
Exactly. They're hoping you'll get flustered and just send them more USDT than they actually paid for.
So the key here is to be super organized. Keep track of each individual order separately and only release crypto when you're absolutely sure the payment matches exactly. Don't let them blur the lines between different orders.
Okay, so treat each order like its own little island. Got it. Now, the overpayment refund scam. This sounds kind of familiar, right? Didn't we talk about overpayments already? Yeah, we did. But this one's a little different. The overpayment is even more intentional and usually is for a much bigger amount. So they send you way more money than agreed. You, being honest, release the USDT for the price you agreed on. And then they come back all frantic, claiming they made a huge mistake and demanding a big refund.
So they're betting that you'll just send back that huge chunk of change without really scrutinizing everything?
Right. Hoping you won't notice if their initial payment was even real or if the overpayment amount is accurate.
Okay, so the best defense, once again, is to stick to the agreed-upon price. If there's a big overpayment, cancel the transaction and have them start over. Don't do any side deals or send direct refunds.
Exactly. Stick to the platform, stick to the rules. All right, moving on. Let's talk about scams that exploit our desire for a good deal. You know, something that seems too good to pass up.
Like those fake P2P ads that promise amazing prices.
Exactly. Scammers will post ads offering USDT at ridiculously low prices if they're buying, or super high prices if they're selling. They know that everyone's looking for a bargain.
Yeah, it's tempting to jump on those. But what's the catch?
The catch is they usually disappear once you send your crypto or fiat. It's a bait and switch. If a deal looks way too good to be true, it probably is.
So if you're looking for a good deal, stick with the verified users with a good track record.
Right.
Even if their prices aren't the most amazing, it's better to be safe than sorry. What about fake crypto listings? What are those all about?
Those are sneaky. Think about it. They list cryptocurrencies that don't actually exist or that aren't even officially listed on Binance. They're just made up.
So they basically create this illusion of a hot new coin, something exclusive.
Exactly. And they'll try to get you to buy these non-existent assets using your real USDT. And of course, you get nothing in return.
Wow. Okay. So before you trade any coin, make sure it's actually real and that it's listed on Binance. Don't just take their word for it. Double check everything.
Right. Do your research. Okay, now let's talk about account security, which is, absolutely crucial.
Yeah. I mean, if your account gets compromised, it's game over.
Exactly. And one way this happens is through account takeover scams. This is where a scammer manages to get into your Binance account. And once they're in, they can do a lot of damage. Like, they can start making unauthorized trades on P2P using your name.
So how can you protect yourself from that? I mean, besides being careful about phishing scams, are there other things you can do?
Strong, unique passwords for your Binance account are non-negotiable. And, super important, enable two-factor authentication, or 2FA. It adds that extra layer of security, making it much harder for someone to break in. Also, keep an eye on your account activity. If you see anything suspicious, any transactions or logins you don't recognize, report it to Binance immediately.
Okay, that's all good advice. Now, what about chargeback scams? Didn't we talk about payment reversals earlier? Is this the same thing?
They're related, but this one involves using compromised accounts. So the scammer gets hold of someone else's Binance account, right? They use that account to buy USDT from you, seemingly legitimately. But then they initiate a chargeback through the compromised account's payment method.
So they get the USDT and then pull the rug out from under the seller.
Exactly. And the seller is the one who ends up losing money. This is why it's crucial to only use trusted payment methods, ones that have robust security protocols of their own.
Makes sense. More layers of protection. Now this one's interesting. Fake trading bots. I'm picturing like little robots running around making trades.
Well, kind of, but not really robots. What we're talking about here are scams that prey on people's desire for easy money. People want to get rich quick, right? So these scammers will offer these trading bots that they say can automatically make you tons of money on Binance P2P.
Oh, so they're like set it and forget it, and then you just watch the money roll in.
Yeah, that's the pitch. But in reality, these bots are either completely useless, they make terrible trades that lose you money, or even worse, they're actually malware, like programs designed to steal your crypto or gain access to your account.
So the takeaway here is be really, really skeptical of anyone promising guaranteed profits, especially if it involves a trading bot.
Exactly. And always be cautious about downloading any software from unverified sources. Do your research. And remember, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah.
Words to live by. All right, last one. This one seems like it could be an honest mistake. Tell me about wallet address errors, intentional.
Ah, yes. This one's all about paying very close attention to detail. So the scammer gives you a wallet address, right? But it looks almost exactly like the correct one for the crypto they're supposed to be sending.
So like a typo.
It might look like a typo, maybe one letter or number is different, but it's not an accident. If you're not being super careful when you copy and paste that address, you could send your crypto to the wrong place. And in the world of crypto, once those funds are sent, they're usually gone for good.
Ouch. That's a tough lesson to learn. So triple check everything. Don't just glance at the address. Make sure every single character is correct.
It's exactly. Take your time. It's worth it. All right, so we've gone through a lot here. A lot of different ways that scammers try to take advantage of people on Binance P2P. But I think it's important to end on a positive note, you know? What are some of the key takeaways? What can our listeners do to protect themselves?
Well, first and foremost, use the tools that Binance gives you.
Right.
Those security features are there for a reason.
Right. The escrow service, it's your best friend. Don't release your crypto until you've verified that the payment has arrived and cleared. And pay attention to those feedback scores. Look for sellers with a long history of positive reviews from lots of different users. That's a good indicator that they're trustworthy.
Right. It's like checking their reputation. And if anything goes wrong or something feels off, use the dispute resolution process that Binance offers. Don't be afraid to use it.
Exactly. Don't hesitate. It's there to help you. And we've said it before, but it bears repeating. Always verify every single payment independently. Don't just rely on notifications or screenshots. Go to your bank account or payment platform. See for yourself.
And don't just look at the number on those feedback scores. Read the comments. What are people saying about this seller? Are they reliable? Are there any red flags?
Right. Get the full picture. And remember, two-factor authentication, or 2FA, it's your best friend when it comes to account security. Make sure it's turned on. It adds that extra layer of protection, making it much harder for someone to hack into your account.
Okay, solid advice. And I guess the final takeaway is that you gotta stay informed, right? The world of crypto is constantly changing. New scams pop up all the time.
You got it. Always be learning. Keep up with the latest information. Be aware of the risks. Don't get complacent.
So to sum it all up, Binance P2P, yeah, it's a great way to trade crypto directly, especially if you're into those stable coins like USDT. But you got to be smart about it. You got to be aware. Don't let your guard down.
Right. Understand the scams, use those security features, and if something feels even a little bit suspicious, trust your gut.
Trust your gut. Absolutely. You know, it's kind of mind-blowing to think about the level of sophistication we're seeing in some of these scams. Makes you wonder what other parts of online finance might be vulnerable to this kind of manipulation. What are the bigger lessons we can learn about staying safe online, not just with crypto, but with everything? Something to think about.
Yeah, it really is. It's a whole new world out there,
Mm-hmm.
and we all need to be aware of the risks.
Yeah.